Hey everyone, this is the second video in our series, Reasons Music Students Don't Practice and How to Fix It. In our last video, we went over the practice map and we ended with the question, okay, if the student knows how to practice, if they know what the practice map looks like, then what are the next blocks that come up for a student while they're practicing? The answer is actually really simple. It's that they're not using their brain right. The brain is a complicated place, obviously, but actually for music teachers, it doesn't really have to be that complicated. There's a lot about the brain that we can learn that can immediately improve our teaching right now. The way that I talk about the brain when I'm talking to music teachers is a lot like this. So your brain is like this car, and this car is actually particularly a Porsche 911. Has to be a Porsche 911 because Porsche 911s are rear-engined, and in the brain, you have an engine in the back of your head. That's what makes you move. You have a trunk in the front of your head. That's where you store all of your information. And of course, the driver, the thing that actually gets you around and decides where to go, that lives in the middle. We're actually going to spend 3 videos talking about the brain because I want to talk about each part separately. The midbrain, that driver, the forebrain, which is the trunk, and the hindbrain, which is the engine. But today I want to talk about the midbrain. So the midbrain is where all of your emotions live. It's where your instincts live. If you have ever been on a hike and seen a stick that you immediately registered as a snake and you like skipped back, that right there, that's your midbrain reacting to a stimulus that it sees. Actually, the midbrain part of your brain acts and works before your thinking part works. Your thinking part and your feeling reacting part are 2 different parts of the brain, and that's really, really important. Now, why do we call the midbrain the driver? Like, why is that the analogy? The reason is that people will not do things that don't feel or seem good to them. And that is based in the midbrain. So how someone feels determines how much of something that they will do voluntarily. Now, this actually gets tricky because you can influence how someone feels about something. So for example, when I was a kid, my teacher, who was quite old, she came over on the Mauritania, the ship that saved survivors from the Titanic. So wasn't a whole lot of advanced psychology going on at the time. But she had this system where she would put gold stars. If you had done well, you could pick a star and put a gold star. And if you had done poorly, she would put a black star. Now, that system is actually, we use that a lot in music now. We call it the stick and the carrot, right? Because you have a carrot that influences the midbrain to want something to be able to move forward. And if that doesn't work, if that doesn't influence the midbrain correctly, then you can always use a stick and create some reason to stay away from something. That's what most people use to motivate that midbrain, to motivate the driver, right? So it's sort of like, I'll give you ice cream once you drive there, or if you don't drive there, I'll beat you, that sort of thing. The only problem with the stick and the carrot is that usually what's between a carrot and a stick is an ass, like a donkey. And humans aren't animals, at least not in that way. You can actually influence your students to be internally motivated, to be emotionally engaged with what it is that you're doing. And that has to be a key part of your job, music teachers. Now, why you in particular? Because music actually lives in the midbrain. Whenever you are doing music with your students, you are activating their emotions. There's no way not to do that. So what you do in a music classroom, what you actually make people feel while they're doing music, it won't just impact how they think and how they move, even though it will do that. It will actually shape their emotional life. So what are you doing this week to become better at tending the driver, the midbrains of your students? Next week, we're going to get into the question, how do you pack a trunk well? Because you do have to get some information into these kids and they have to feel good about that.